I am traveling to Florida next week to see my favorite uncle. He is my late father's younger brother. He's been sick for a long time, but now it's getting serious. This may be the last time we see him alive. As I prepare for my trip, I recall the most incredible story that happened 36 years ago when I was 17 on my first visit to my uncle's farm in Florida. I have only shared this story with my wife, and I thought you online folks would find it interesting as well. So here we go. My father passed away when I was 11 years old, and my mother remarried. We moved from Florida to Iowa, where my mother came from. She remarried her high school sweetheart, who was a pastor in the local church. My stepdad and my mom spent most of their time doing activities that had to do with church. They didn't have to worry about money because my uncle was supporting us financially. I love my stepdad. He's a good man and would go above and beyond to put a smile on everyone's face. He barely had anything to his name, but a really good heart. Before my dad's passing, he ran a 160 acres watermelon farm along with his brother in Florida. It's a family farm, so the farm was handed down to them. My father and uncle were close, and his passing affected my uncle immensely because not only were they brothers, but they were also business partners as well. Ever since my dad passed, my uncle has been sending dividends to a trust to support my mom and my two younger brothers financially, so we were well taken care of. During the summer of 1986, I was 17 years old. My mother wanted me to visit my uncle's farm in Florida, since I may inherit a lot of it when he's gone. I remember how much I hated it because I wasn't an outdoor person, and farming wasn't something that I would ever see myself doing in the future. The scorching sun, the sweat, the dirt, the farming, that wasn't my cup of tea, but I had no choice. I was a good kid, and my mother raised me well, so I had to step up and get used to the family business. On that day, my mom dropped me at the airport, and I took the plane to Florida. As soon as I got off the plane, the scorching Florida sun beat down on my face. My heart raced with anticipation as I breathed in the warm, humid air. I had traveled all the way from my small town in Iowa to work on my uncle's watermelon farm in Florida. As I walked towards the exit, I spotted my uncle. Let's call him James. He was waiting for me. We haven't seen each other since I was 11 years old. My mom is from Iowa and never cared to bring us back to Florida to visit my father's side of the family. My uncle was a tall, weathered man with callous hands that spoke volume about the hard work he puts into the farm. He was my father's doppelganger. I couldn't help but admire his dedication and commitment. He took the business from after my dad passed and turned it into a thriving business. Once we reached the farm, my uncle introduced me to his beautiful young wife. Let's call her Elena. She had a captivating green eye and a warm smile that instantly made me feel at home. She looked fit and had a good-sized breast. Even at that age, I was impressed by my uncle's taste in women. It was hard to believe that she used to be one of the workers on the farm. My uncle is a very hands-on person, and so was his young wife, and that explains why she looked so fit. My uncle was 44 back then, and she was maybe 28. Uncle James had fallen in love with her, and they got married soon after his divorce from his first wife. He had two daughters from his previous marriage, but they have left the farm with their mother. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of roosters crowing and the smell of fresh coffee wafting through the air. I eagerly made my way to the kitchen, where Elena was preparing breakfast. The scent of bacon and eggs filled the room, and I was immediately hungry. After a hearty breakfast, Uncle James took me on a tour of the farm. Acres upon acres of lush green fields stretched out before me, dotted with rows and rows of watermelon plants. The vibrant green-striped fruit glistened under the sun. My uncle took a knife from his pocket, and we cut open one to get a taste. It had that sweet, sugary flavor. The texture is crisp and not too firm, and very juicy. Uncle James explained the meticulous process of growing watermelons. He told me how the seeds were sown in early spring, nurtured with care, and watered daily. As summer arrived, the plant grew, and the fruit began to develop. It was a delicate balance of providing the right amount of water, sunlight, and nutrients to ensure a bountiful harvest. As the day rolled on, I became fully immersed in the rhythm of farm life. Every morning, I woke up before dawn and joined the Mexican workers in the field. Juan, Pedro, and Miguel were my uncle's trusted men. They were hard-working men who had been with my Uncle James for years. They taught me the tricks of the trade and treated me like family. The men traveled back and forth to Mexico during on and off season and normally come back to the States with a handful of help hands. This year, along with other men, Miguel came with his 18-year-old son, Carlos. This is the third time Carlos has been to the States, and his English was good. Since he was almost the same age as me, we would hang out together after work, drink beer, talk about school life, and girls that we would like to hook up with. Back then, I was still a virgin and had all the girls that I had crush on. There were some girls that work at the farm, and Carlos would talk about the ones that he had already had access with. As a virgin, I remember enjoying listening to his stories, and I thought he was cool and had the confidence that I wish I had. Elena is the operational manager. She drove around the farm to monitor and coordinate resources in my uncle's absence, and she makes sure that the operation is running smoothly while my uncle coordinates logistics and other things. She's fluent in Spanish as she's from the same country as the workers. Most of my time were spent learning driving and fixing farm machinery. I would drive the tractor with the conveyor around the farm towards wherever the workers were picking the watermelon so they could place them on the conveyor belt. We worked tirelessly under the scorching sun, our bodies glistening with sweat and our hands covered with dirt. The work was physically demanding, but I relished every moment. There was a certain satisfaction that came from tending to the plants, watching them thrive under our care. Each day, we would harvest the ripe watermelon, carefully plucking them from their vines and placing them on the conveyor, and then on the large crates where the forklift is waiting to put them on the trucks. The weight of the melons tested our strength, but our determination never wavered. It was a delicate process, ensuring that the fruits remain intact and undamaged. As the summer progressed, the watermelon harvest grew more abundant. The farm buzzed with activities as trucks arrived to collect the crates and transport them to the local markets and grocery stores. Uncle James had built a reputation for his exceptional watermelons, and demand was always high. In the evening, after a long day's work, we would gather in the farmhouse for a well-deserved meal. The table would be filled with hearty dishes, cooked by Elena and some help. It had been a particularly hot day on the watermelon farm, and as the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the farm, that day I had planned to go to a local pub with Carlos, as such has become our tradition. But he was nowhere to be found. It wasn't like now that you can reach out to people on their cell phone. So as I waited for him to show up, I found myself lingering on the farm, reluctant to leave the surrounding that I have come to love. The air was thick with fragrance of ripening watermelons, and the distant sounds of birds enveloped me in a sense of tranquility. As I strode through the rows of vibrant green watermelon plants, their lush leaves rustling soft in the breeze, a flicker of movement caught my eye. Curiosity piqued. I followed the sound of the motion and found myself near a small shed where we normally store some equipment, but we don't use it often. The small withered building stood at the edge of the farm, tucked away from the main farmhouse. Feeling an inexplicable urge to investigate further, I approached the quarters cautiously. Chopping sounds and soft moaning floated through the air, and a mix of anticipation and trepidation filled me. Peering through an open window, I caught a glimpse of a scene that would forever be etched into my memory. There, in the dimly lit room, lay a woman, and Carlos was on top of her. Carlos was going to town on this woman, and the sound of their skin on impact sounded like a hatchet chopping wood. I thought the woman he was having excess with was one of the female workers, so I hid outside the window and just stared at them. Few minutes later, when they began to change position, I was horrified to find out that the woman he was having excess with was my uncle's wife, Elena. I was shocked. She was locked in a passionate embrace with Carlos at this point, their bodies pressed against each other as they continued to have sex like wild animals. Time stood still as I tried to process the sight before me. My mind raced with a whirlwind of emotions, confusion, betrayal, and a sense of disbelief. How could this be happening? I had looked up to my uncle and admired the seemingly perfect marriage he and Elena shared. But now, everything had been shattered by this unforeseen revelation. I quickly withdrew from the window, my heart pounding in my chest. The weight of this newfound knowledge settled upon me like a heavy burden. Should I confront them? Should I keep the secret locked away, preserving the illusion of their happy marriage? This question swirled in my mind, each answer carrying its own set of consequences. As I made my way back to the farmhouse, I couldn't shake the image that had unfolded before my eyes. My emotions were in turmoil, torn between loyalty to my uncle and the moral dilemma of concealing the truth. Once familiar farmhouse felt foreign, and the atmosphere seemed tinged with a sense of unease. The following day, I found myself silently observing Elena and Carlos, watching for any signs of their secret tryst. Their attraction appeared normal. Their smiles and conversation disguised the dangerous affair that existed beneath the surface. But I couldn't ignore the truth that had unveiled to me that fateful evening. Finally, unable to bear the weight of this secret any longer, I resolved to confess to my uncle. One evening, after work, I took a deep breath and approached him. "Uncle James," I began, my voice quivering with a mix of trepidation and concern. "There's something I need to tell you, something I saw." His eyes met mine, a mixture of surprise and curiosity. I recounted the evening I stumbled upon the shed and the shocking scene I witnessed. The word spilled forth, carrying the weight of the truth, and my uncle's expression transformed from confusion to disbelief. For a few moments, silence enveloped us, broken only by the chorus of crickets in the background. The truth hung heavy in the air, charged with tension and disbelief. My uncle's eyes narrowed as he processed the shocking revelation I had just shared with him. Time seemed to stretch as he sat there, his face a mixture of anger, hurt, and confusion. Finally, breaking the silence, my uncle spoke, his voice laced with raw emotion. "How could she do this? How could she, after everything I have done for her?" He muttered, his voice trembling with a mixture of betrayal and disappointment. Without another word, he stood up, his footstep heavy as he made his way into the farmhouse. I followed him, my heart pounding with anxiety, unsure of what would unfold next. Inside, we found Elena sitting on the kitchen table, her face etched with surprise as she saw the anger etched upon my uncle's face. "Elena," my uncle's voice was strained, filled with hurt and anger. "How could you do this to me? To us?" Elena was confused, asking what she had done. My uncle told her that she was caught sleeping with Carlos. She tried to deny it, but I spoke up and told her that I caught them both in the shed. Elena's eyes darted from my uncle to mine, realization washing over her features. The silence hung heavy in the room as she struggled to find the right words. "James, I am sorry," she finally choked out, her voice quivering with remorse. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness, but my uncle's anger had simmered into a quiet determination, a mistake that shattered our trust. "Elena," he said firmly, "I can't continue to live like this, knowing what you have done." The days that followed were filled with tension and heartache. Carlos and his dad got fired, and Elena was thrown out of the house the following day. My uncle consulted with lawyers and navigated the complexity of divorce proceedings. As rumors spread, the once harmonious farmhouse became a battleground of emotions, as the truth created sadness and tension around the farm. During this time, I watched my uncle grapple with the pain of betrayal and the need to move forward. It was a painful process, marked by tears and heated arguments, and a sense of loss that hung heavy in the air. The farm, once a symbol of family unity, became a reminder of broken promise and shattered dreams. As the divorce was finalized, my uncle emerged from the ordeal with a renewed sense of purpose. The farm, now devoid of Elena's presence, underwent a transformation. It was a period of healing and rebuilding, as my uncle poured his energy into revitalizing the business and instilling a new sense of life into the fields. Together, we worked tirelessly as I took on Elena's previous responsibilities and some, tending to the watermelon plants, determined to restore the farm to its former glory. The rest of the Mexican workers stood by my uncle's side, unwavering in their loyalty and support. Their dedication and hard work became a beacon of hope, a reminder that despite the challenge and heartbreak, life could move forward. In time, the wounds began to heal, and a newfound sense of purpose enveloped the farm. My uncle's resilience and determination were evident in every aspect of the operation, and the watermelon harvest flourished once again. The summer on the watermelon farm had become a transformative journey for beyond what I had initially anticipated. The journey of inheriting the farm had become overshadowed by the unexpected revelation and the subsequent divorce. Yet, amidst the pain and turmoil, valuable lessons were learned. I learned about the fragility of trust and the importance of honesty and communication in any relationship. I witnessed my uncle's resilience and his unwavering commitment to rebuilding not only the farm, but also his own life. As the years passed, the farm flourished under my uncle's care, becoming a testament to his determination and resilience. And while the scars of the past remained, they serve as a reminder of the strength and the growth that can emerge from even the most challenging circumstances. Thank you for staying to the end of this video. Please share your opinion on the comment section and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you and have a wonderful day.